Ever notice how you'll bend over backwards to meet someone else's standards, but when it comes to your own life, your own joy, your own basic damn well being, you settle for crumbs like a raccoon under a picnic table? Like you'll bust your ass at a job you secretly hate just to avoid a passive aggressive email from your manager named Greg, who says things like, per my last message, like it's a war cry. But when it comes to your actual dreams, your health, your sleep, your sanity, you're out here saying, it's fine, I'll deal with it later. Babe, later is a lie, later is a scam, later is a fairy tale written by the same people who invented diet culture and $7 iced lattes with oat milk and guilt. And guess what? Neither later nor Greg is paying your bills, loving you right, or helping you get out of bed when your soul feels like wet laundry. Your standards are the ceiling of your life, not your talent, not your vibe, not your star sign or your morning affirmations. Your standards, that's the ceiling, the max, the top floor you'll ever reach. Unless you raise the entire damn building, you can have all the ambition in the world. But if your standard is just survive the week, then congratulations. That's exactly what you'll get. Survival. And not the sexy kind like Bear Grylls. I'm talking emotional scavenger mode. Finding little scraps of dopamine in your group chats and Spotify playlists just to stay afloat. Because here's the real talk. You don't get what you hope for, you get what you tolerate. Not what you manifest under the full moon, not what you text your friends about when you're 3 margaritas deep talking about your future podcast. You get what you allow. And let's be honest, we allow a lot of garbage. We allow half-assed friendships. We allow employers to slowly harvest our souls like they're mining crypto from our brain cells. We allow people to breadcrumb us emotionally and call it complicated. We allow this inner monologue that tells us you're lazy, you're behind, you're not enough. Like it's scripture instead of just bad programming from a society that profits off our self-doubt. And you know what no one tells you. Your brain is just a really dramatic improv actor that learned its lines from teenage trauma and awkward middle school moments. It's like a Netflix algorithm. You watch 3 sad shows and now it's like, would you like to spiral into another existential crisis? And you're like, yeah, okay. Stop. Unsubscribe from that trash playlist. Hit eject. Because none of this changes until you raise the damn standard. Until you say, this is no longer enough for me. I want more. I deserve more. I am more. Not tomorrow, not next month, not when Mercury is in a better mood. Right now. Can we talk, really talk, about how many people are walking around right now running at like 20% capacity? Like your phone's on low power mode, but forever. Like your life is just dimmed, muted, buffering. And you've somehow convinced yourself that's normal. That's just adulthood. That's just being realistic. Like you're a whole ass Ferrari stuck in first gear, but you don't hit the gas because someone told you early on you weren't allowed to go fast. Someone told you speed was dangerous. Ambition was arrogant. Joy was selfish. Success was suspicious. Someone made you believe that dreaming big made you too much. And now look at you, hyper aware of how much space you take up, apologizing every time you breathe too loud, calling it humility. But really, it's just fear dressed up as modesty. Like you've confused shrinking with being kind, as if playing small makes the world better for anyone. It doesn't. It just makes you miserable and easier to control. You've been taught that wanting more is the same thing as being ungrateful, that raising your standards makes you a diva, a problem, a burden. But hear me. Wanting more doesn't make you selfish. It makes you human. It means your soul is still alive under all the numbness and noise. It means your inner fire hasn't gone out. It's just been on a low simmer waiting for you to stop playing nice and start playing real. And here's the sickest part. Somewhere along the way, you started calling that cardboard ceiling above your life reality. Started telling yourself that chasing more was dangerous, irresponsible, too risky, too late, too much. You convinced yourself it's safer to settle, easier to coast, smarter to blend in. And now you sit in the break room with a fake smile and a dying spark whispering, at least I have a job. While your soul is literally screaming from the inside like, we are meant for more than this. And you try to ignore it with caffeine and scrolling and those little fake victories like getting through the week without crying in public. You say it's not that bad while crying into your pillow, watching other people on TikTok living your plan A while you're stuck in plan C minus because you were too afraid to raise your voice, ask for the raise, make the move, demand better, say no, say yes, say anything louder than a whisper. And why? Because you thought raising your standards would make you lose people. And here's the raw truth. You will lose people. You will outgrow them. They'll guilt trip you, call you different, distant, dramatic, but that's not your problem. That's gravity, baby. And when you rise, not everyone can come with you. Some people loved the version of you that didn't know better, the you that said it's fine when it wasn't, the you that never said, I deserve more. So, yeah, raise your standards. Let the uncomfortable moments happen. Let the low effort people fall away. Let the fake support crumble. Let the approval addiction detox itself out of your system like poison. Because what happens when you raise your standards is magic wrapped in chaos. Things shake, shift, unravel, but only so the real things, the things meant for your higher self, your actual potential, can finally show up. People get uncomfortable when you start honoring your worth. Lazy people lose access to you. Takers can't reach you, toxic systems, relationships, jobs, habits, start panicking because they relied on you not knowing your value. And that's a good thing. Let them fall apart. Let them burn. If something can't survive your growth, it was never built for your future. Your standards aren't walls to keep people out. They're gates to keep your peace in. They're not punishments, they're protections. They are sacred boundaries wrapped in self-respect. You don't set standards to hurt anyone. You set them to honor your future self. The version of you who's not exhausted, not anxious all the time, not wondering if they're crazy for wanting basic joy. You raise your standards so your life stops feeling like a half-finished sentence and starts reading like the story you were meant to live. So don't let anyone guilt you for leveling up. Your growth is not an apology, it's a declaration. And the people who are meant for you, they'll rise too. Let me tell you a story that might sound a little too familiar. There's this guy, let's call him Dave. Dave was the kind of guy everyone liked because Dave never said no. Extra shifts? Sure. Last minute favors? Of course. Helping people move in the middle of July when he had strep throat? Yep, that was Dave. He said yes to everything and everyone except himself. You know the type, chronic nice guy with a smile on the outside and a quiet storm of resentment building behind his eyeballs. Because deep down he knew. He knew he was wasting his life, knew he was built for more than being a professional pushover, knew he had dreams, goals, ideas that were rusting in a corner of his mind he never visited anymore. But instead of dealing with that truth, he just kept showing up. He clocked in at a job that made him feel invisible, a job that made him arrive 6 minutes early every day, unpaid, because that's the culture, which is just corporate code for we exploit you, but in a quirky way. And he laughed it off like everybody else. Because that's what you do, right? You laugh, you shrug, you call it adulthood and drink cheap beer with people who complain about the same crap every week. But then, one day, everything cracked. His little niece, probably 5 years old, looks up at him with those pure, innocent eyes that haven't been poisoned by LinkedIn yet, and she says, Uncle Dave, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he just blanks. Not even a fake answer, not even a dumb joke, just total silence. And that silence hit him like a gut punch, because he realized for the first time he had no idea. Not because he didn't care, but because he never actually asked himself. He'd been living off other people's templates his whole life. His boss's expectations, his parents' definitions of success, his ex's criticisms. Even Instagram influencers who wear matching beige outfits and wake up at 5 a.m. for no reason. He had no vision that was truly his, no standard that came from him. And in that moment, something flipped. That night, he walked out of work, didn't put in a 2 weeks notice, didn't explain, didn't apologize. He just left. No plan, no map, just a decision. No more crumbs, no more soul-sucking jobs that disguise burnout as productivity, no more friendships based on trauma bonding and sarcasm, no more drinking just to feel something other than numb. It got messy. He lost people. He doubted himself. But for the first time in his life, every move he made felt like it actually belonged to him. And 5 years later, Dave's not a millionaire. He's not on a yacht somewhere. But he owns a little gym with peeling paint and big heart. He makes enough to eat well, sleep deep, and sit on his porch with tacos and peace in his chest. And that same niece? She thinks he's Superman, not because he bought her a toy, but because she saw what most adults are too scared to do. He stood the hell up for himself. And here's the truth bomb. Your standards are not goals. They're not dreams. They're not Pinterest boards. They are boundaries. They are the non-negotiables you draw in the sand to tell the universe, This is what I will no longer accept. They are the floor beneath your feet, not the ceiling above your head. If your standard is emotional unavailability, guess who you'll attract? If your standard is burnout, guess how your schedule's going to look? If your standard is chaos, guess what your peace will always be allergic to? You want a different outcome? You have to set a different minimum. You can't keep wishing for better while accepting less. Raise the standard, even if it scares you, even if it feels delusional at first, even if people roll their eyes and say, "You've changed." Good. That's the point. Because when you change your standard, you change your gravity. You attract different people, different energy, different opportunities, not because the world suddenly became magical, but because you finally decided you were done living beneath yourself. Want different? Be different. Not next year. Not when you feel ready. Tonight. Look, I get it. You're exhausted. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, but the kind that lives in your bones. The kind that makes even brushing your teeth feel like a chore. Because you've tried before, haven't you? You've raised the bar, you've made the list, you've said, "This time I mean it," and still ended up face down in the same mess you swore you'd never repeat. And maybe now you're scared, not just of failing, but of failing again, of getting your hopes up only to get gut punched by reality because expecting more means risking more. And if it doesn't work, it'll hurt worse, right? But let me ask you this, straight up. Isn't this half-life hurting you anyway? Isn't the slow bleed of disappointment already draining you every day you pretend this is fine? That quiet ache in your chest, that feeling like you're watching your life happen instead of living it, that's pain too, just sneakier, more polite, the kind that wears comfy clothes and whispers, "Don't rock the boat." But screw that. Rock the boat. Flip the damn thing if you have to. Because pain with purpose, pain that moves you forward, pain that means something, beats the slow torture of staying stuck in comfort and calling it a life. Every time. You don't change your life by wishing. You don't get it by manifesting with crystals you bought off Etsy and hoping the universe sends you a handwritten invitation to step into your power. You change it by drawing a line in the damn sand and saying, "This is who I am now. This is what I will no longer accept. This is the standard I hold. Even if nobody claps, even if everyone doubts me, even if I have to walk alone for a while until the right people catch up." You set the tone, you set the tempo, you set the standard. Not your ex, not your toxic manager, not the influencer doing yoga handstands with perfect lighting in Bali, you. And the second, you start showing up like your life is worth more, like you are worth more. The world starts shifting around you. People either level up or they exit. Either way, the room gets clearer. So before you scroll one more reel, before you open that DM from someone who doesn't even respect you, before you spiral into another late night overthinking session of, "Why am I like this?" Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, what have I been settling for? Not in a vague philosophical way, literally. What is the thing in your life right now that's beneath you? That if your best friend was living through it, you'd say, "Hell no, you deserve better." That's the standard. That's the place to start. And you don't have to raise it 100% overnight, just 10%. Just enough to say, "I love myself too much to keep living like this." Just enough to say, "I don't chase people anymore. I don't work until I break. I don't laugh at jokes that make me feel small. I don't accept almost love. I don't water dead plants." You don't need a full plan. You don't need 5-year goals and color-coded schedules. You don't even need confidence yet. All you need is that moment where you draw a new line and say, "I go no lower than this now." And you mean it, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because you weren't born for crumbs. You weren't built to nibble at life like it's some rationed out emergency meal. You were born to feast. But first, you got to stop pretending you're full when you're starving. You got to stop calling emotional dehydration self-sufficiency. You got to stop labeling fine as a win. Fine is not a life. Fine is a padded cell with decent Wi-Fi. Fine is a trap disguised as stability. So raise it. The standard. The bar. The whole damn vibe, the energy you carry, the way you let people speak to you, the way you show up for your own dreams. Raise it like your future depends on it. Because it does. Because the second you raise the bar, even just a little, everything else around you starts to rise in response. It's like emotional gravity. You pull better people into your orbit. People who don't flinch at your worth. People who don't need to be convinced to treat you right. People who already live at the frequency you've been trying to fake your way into. You stop attracting energy that drains you and start magnetizing energy that fuels you. The way you talk to yourself starts to change too. You stop saying, I'm so behind, and start saying, I'm just getting started. You stop waking up dreading the day and start feeling this low, steady hum of readiness. You start sleeping deeper, smiling easier, holding your boundaries like a boss, not a people pleaser. You stop second guessing your gut. You stop asking, is this too much? And start thinking, no, this is the bare minimum. You walk into rooms like you built them. You stop folding yourself into silence just to make others comfortable. You stop shrinking. Because now when you look in the mirror, you don't just see a face, you see someone. Someone who's been through the fire and still showed up. Someone who earned their own respect. Someone who's finally worth fighting for. And not because they're flawless, but because they finally showed the hell up for themselves. This is not about being perfect. Let that go. No one cares if you're perfect. That was never the assignment. This is about permission. Permission to want more without shame. Permission to need more without guilt. Permission to say no without explaining. Permission to stop apologizing for your ambition, your sensitivity, your fire, your weirdness, your sparkle, your standards. Permission to take up space without shrinking so the insecure people around you don't feel small. Permission to stop begging people to love you properly and just love yourself so loudly that they either rise to meet it or get left behind. Permission to own your light without dimming it for people who never even brought sunglasses. You are not meant to blend in. You are not meant to contort yourself into versions that make others feel less threatened. You are not meant to fit inside someone else's comfort zone. You were built to stand out, to shine, loudly, boldly, unapologetically. So bright, it blinds the ones who are never supposed to be in your life long term anyway. So bright, it wakes up the parts of you that forgot who the hell you are. So raise it, the bar, the boundary, the minimum. Raise it like your life depends on it. Because it does. Raise it until it scares you, until it makes you sweat, until people say, you've changed, and you say, damn right I have. Raise it until your old life doesn't recognize you anymore. Raise it until your future self looks back and says, that's the moment everything shifted. Your standards are the ceiling of your life, not your potential, not your dreams, not your intelligence or your heart or your hustle, just the standards you're willing to enforce. That's the limit. And babe, you were never meant to live under one. You were meant to break ceilings. So go ahead, raise it.